He died on a tennis court and came back to life. And what happened next will change the way you think about your life forever. This is Murphy Jensen, French Open champion, cardiac arrest survivor, and this is definitely one of the most powerful conversations I've ever had.
You had a recent post that was incredibly moving to me. You shared something so personal and very powerful, and it's touched so many people. I'd love to talk about that experience and what you've went through and how it's changed you.
Which experience? So what I share,
Go whichever one you want to
what I
start with.
share with people, is now that people book me to come to their organization or their school or their university to share my stories, how do you explain the unexplainable? You have to experience it. And my experience was 4.5 years ago. Now, I'm going to tell the audience that there's a really good chance I'm going to be emotional. More than usual, Christina Flack, because your husband is part of my story.
Really?
And I have never shared this before.
And you've never even shared this with me, so I'm probably going to get emotional as well.
Yeah, so 4.5 years ago, my brother had been hired as the tennis director for the Garden of the Gods Resort in Colorado Springs. I have had my son, Billy, was thriving in college, just had graduated, on his way to film school in Los Angeles, and my 4-year-old baby Duke was watching this exhibition tennis match with a few hundred people. It was the second game. I'm in the best shape of my life. 5 years earlier, I'd moved to Seattle. We had moved to Seattle for me to co-found We Connect Healthcare Management, which is a technology solution with support and services around mental health and addiction. And we've served millions of people from 30 countries. And what was seen 26 years ago as the worst thing that could have happened to me had turned out to be the greatest blessing in my life, because I had survived mental health challenges after winning the French Open. I had my first panic attack, and I would escape me at all costs. I'd run away from me and isolate, and I went through a major depression while being on the tour. And in 1999, while playing the US Open, I was my best thinking had me jumping out of a window in New York City. Cut to October 29th, the night before my 53rd birthday, the second game, serving to my brother. I'm going to kick his butt because I'm in the best shape of my life. I've got everything to live for. And I toss the ball, and I don't hit the ball drops, and then I drop. I had a cardiac arrest, and with my arms in the air, I go back and land on my head, and my head cracks open, and I'm bleeding all over the baseline, and my heart stopped, and the first words that were screamed was, "Where's the AED?" And my brother had been trained by the head of security, who was an ex-fire chief, the day before, and was right behind the tennis court where he was returning serve. So he ran to get the AED. Some off-duty medical professionals ran to my aid and ripped my shirt off and blood's pouring all over the baseline from my fractured skull. And they performed chest compressions and CPR. And they screamed to my wife, "We need to break his ribs and sternum. Is that okay?" And so they needed more pressure. They shocked me 6 times on that court with an AED.
Wow.
And within each shock, and I'm dead. Luke, my brother, has got my bloodied head cradled in his hand, screaming, Jensen's never quit. This is not your time. Kate needs you. I need you. Duke needs you. Billy needs you. Jensen's never quit. Screw you. You could have heard it, so I've been told. In that post on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, I shared like what people told me. And I have no memory of what I'm sharing. This is exactly what the doctors and the onlookers told me.
Right.
And my skin goes, my body goes cold, my skin turns black. They throw me in an ambulance. They shock me 2 more times and they get a pulse in my foot or something. They rush me to the hospital. They induce me into a coma. And up, because it was COVID, my wife and my brother, who were in the ambulance, were not allowed to go in. And a priest comes out.
Wow.
And Kate's screaming, no, 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 you get back in there. It's impossible to share this as a long story short. So now for the next 6 or 7 days, they would see, they thought I had been possibly paralyzed from the neck down because of the fall. They didn't know which Murphy they were going to get back. And because of the lack of oxygen to the brain, is he going to be permanently a vegetable with permanent brain damage? Would he be paralyzed for life? The doctor would slam on my chest, the broken ribs, and I would go, in the coma.
Right.
And so I come out of this coma, and the whole world wants to know, and it's not that easy because I didn't know who I was, where I was. My wife would say, your name is Murphy. I'm Kate, your wife. You've had a sudden cardiac arrest. You're in the ICU. You have a baby named Duke and a son named Billy. And they would repeat that mantra. And so here we are, Christina. And eventually I said to my wife, things were starting to register, and I said, this will make a great chapter in my book.
She must have
Yeah.
been so happy to hear those words from you.
Yeah, well, he's in there. He's okay.
He's there.
And so I need to share with you something that maybe you've needed to hear for some time, in that a lot of people ask me about the other side. What did you see? Did you see your late dad? Did you see Howard O? Did you see your dad? Did you see Jesus? Because I've done some research on after sudden death experiences, and they say the people you love the most. But what I would explain for the next couple of years was that I think I was captured in the middle. And in my middle, I found myself, this is no lie, this is the absolute truth. I found myself on a tennis court in Mill Valley, California,
What?
at a Prostate Cancer Foundation event, Michael Milken. And that's what was strange, because the Prostate Cancer Foundation events happen in Palm Beach, the Hamptons, Palm Springs. It is not in Mill Valley. And I saw the usual suspects. I saw of those events, those fundraisers. I saw Michael Milken. I saw Dr. Simons. I saw the Koch brothers or whatever. I saw the normal people, and I'm on that stadium court at Harbor Point.
Yeah.
Or somewhere. I was on this.
Yeah. Harbor Point.
And it's almost like a dream state. And this is the only memory I have. that I'm sharing with you. And this court was named after your husband. And so I'm dead, and I'm on the other side or the middle or whatever, and it was named after Ken Flack. And so that's why I'm
Wow.
sensitive to this story in that I'm speaking with you. And I didn't share it. I didn't share specifics publicly, um, because I was when I got back to Seattle, I asked my therapist Cecile, my first meeting with it, why am I still here? Based on what you're telling me, I shouldn't be here. They called me the doctors, the everybody, Miracle Murphy, Miracle Murphy, Miracle Murphy. I believe in miracles. I would say that I believed in miracles before, but back to the experience. I've experienced a miracle, and the fact that I've made a full recovery, and a number of people have reached out for me to speak at their organization around mental health, around cardiac heart health, um, about like what's really important. You know, you know what's important.
I
You'll
do.
never be the same again, and
No.
I will never be the same again. And I had an awakened spirit before through the process of my recovery from mental health challenges, but I've experienced a spiritual awakening as a result of this. I see things through a lens that I've been very gifted. I'm very sensitive to other people's suffering. I'm very sensitive to places that are unsafe. When I see an AED at the airport, or I see an ambulance driving down the road with the lights on, I feel something on a cellular level that I really can't explain. I can't really explain. Uh, so I'm still here, and the love machine called Murphy Jensen is here now with you. So you know the 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 secret's out, and I don't know why I'm still here. I am still here from my perspective. If there was, if I were to could put it into words, I'm here to help others or be of service to others until the day I die. Someone needs help, I'm going to be of service to that person. Um, and this morning I was in a support group meeting here on Bainbridge Island in Seattle, Washington. And, people were talking about being angry or being afraid. We're living in a world that seems to be coming to an end, and we're on the brink of World War III. Our heads can create a reality we're not even.
Oh, they don't even exist, but they're so powerful.
Yeah, and part of my disease of mental health is my head will tell me I need to be anywhere but where I'm at, and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, right here, right now with you, as evidence that I'm here with you right now.
Right.
And I think I'm still here. I'm reminded as I'm taking out the garbage, I'm still here. I'm doing a honeydew errand for Kate. Uh, but it was a real gift because I've learned how to live every day like it's my last. If we had a week to live, um, collectively, we wouldn't worry about 99% of the garbage we're worried about,
So true.
and what would you say? What would you say? I'm compelled to say I love you to total strangers on the street, at the grocery store. Maybe I'm a maniac, become a maniac.
No.
But
You know,
love,
I've had the same experience because, I've lost my son, and as you know, I've lost Ken. And I feel like from having had those experiences, I tell everyone I speak with, love you, bye, every time. The gardener, whoever I meet on the street, friend, or, people in our tennis world, I'll just say, okay, love you,
yeah.
see you soon. I think that's the blessing of having had these experiences, is that you really see that time and love are the only things that matter. You've given me this beautiful gift of time today, and I love you. And that story about Ken, okay, so I don't even think you know this. Ken Ken's celebration of life was at Harbor Point Tennis Club.
Wow.
Yeah, and you didn't know that.
I didn't know
Uh,
that. I didn't know that. I'm
you didn't.
very, I like for you watching, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but um, okay.
So there's no coincidences in life. I truly believe that. And I just find that, like, thank you for giving me that beautiful gift of that. So I think Ken was there to tell you that this isn't your time, buddy. Get your ass back there and go talk to
So
my wife.
on a lighter note, I must share with you something that I experienced this morning. My
Tell
friend
me.
in my office is here, sends me a text, and some Harvard study, and a lot of studies have been circulating around the world, and it's the information and the data points is that those that play tennis live longer lives. And I called him
Interesting.
he texted me this thing, and I called him and I said, I dropped dead on a tennis court playing tennis. And he said, the God's accounting must have made it a clerical error. They probably thought you were playing soccer. And God says, hey, what is he doing here? He's a tennis player. Send him back.
Send it back.
I've been having so much belly laughs over, come on, come on. It's just,
It's so
there's
funny
too
you
much
say that.
comedy in that, you know?
You know what? And you have to
Maybe
find the
because
comedy.
I was a bad tennis player. I don't know. Maybe it
No,
wasn't
you were
my
not.
day. Yeah.
You know what? I
No.
used to say after Ken died that, like, he's such a handful. God's not going to want him. Just send him back. I'd be like, God, you don't want to deal with my husband. He's a
Oh,
total pain in the ass. He's my pain in the ass. Send him home.
oh my gosh.
And he has been such a powerful angel. Like, after he died, I I could hear him speaking to me because he wasn't supposed to die. It wasn't his time. And that's a whole other subject. But I could hear him telling me to go speak to this clairvoyant that he had spoken to, that I was supposed to speak to. So I miraculously get in with her, and she tells me that, I'm going to shorten this story because it's really long. We could talk about it off the air. But he was saying that, like, my son, Ken, was, as you know, obsessed with golf, and that he wanted my sons to know that, like, when they're on the golf course, he's going to be with them every step of the way, and they have to listen to him telling him which golf club to use and all this. So I tell my son Nikolai this, and Nikolai is like, Mom, you're batshit crazy. So anyway, I said, look, just be open to things. And he's like, okay, whatever. So he goes to play golf. My son's a D1 golfer, and he was in the car wearing a bracelet of Ken's that I had given to him. And he said he could hear Ken's voice clearly saying, keep it on, buddy. You'll be happy it's on. He goes, okay. So my son Nikolai goes, okay, I'm going to keep the bracelet on. Listen to my mother. He goes and hits the ball. It's a par five. Like, the hole's up on a cliff. It's this impossible hole in one.
Come on.
Bible. My
Come
son
on.
calls me and goes, Okay, I still think you're batshit, but
Ah,
I did hear Ken today. So
that's
I believe that he was there telling you something in his way. So I love that.
yeah, it's part of my story. And he was part of my life. I will never forget. He may have been the biggest son of a gun, toughest guy to play competitively against. That's what made him so great because he was not only talented, he competed ruthlessly.
He was a beast.
Ruthlessly. He was
He
a
was a
beast.
beast on the court.
And but he was always kind to me. And he was a superstar and I'm on the way up and he was always kind. He was always kind. And I so appreciate that. And he touched my life and my heart, you know,
I
and
love that.
made me feel a little more than when I felt less than.
I love that. How has the tennis community supported you and been there for you? Because, during the time that you played, all the different players, you guys had such an incredibly strong bond. How has that helped you or affected you?
My point of reference, being a mental health advocate and a heart health advocate, when I checked into a psych ward and then a detox in Culver City, California, and there was a doctor there named Dr. Murphy, I thought that was a sign. But
Everything's a sign.
a Murphy can become a doctor. I barely got through the SAT.
Right.
Anyway, uh, I was so alone and so afraid when it comes to mental health disorders and mental health challenges and things like that. Those issues do take communities and families hostage. I was so alone, terrified, afraid. I didn't feel like I had anything to live for, and nobody called.
Really?
Nobody called. And my brother was there for me. And it's those issues are are swept under the rug or kept secret, and let's pretend it didn't happen. And where heart health, and maybe it was the process and the transformation of Murphy Jensen through recovery that millions of people in the tennis world, to Andre Agassi being on the phone with my brother and my wife, and everyone from the biggest people in the world of finance to you name it, airplanes, money, whatever my family needed, to help. It was unbelievable. I think it's
Wow.
a combination of two things. You know, uh, Heart health disorders, people are so confused on how to respond to a suicide attempt. A, I've been on the phone with Hall of Fame tennis players that don't want to live anymore. I've been on the phone with a young girl whose father played college tennis that uh, she had jumped off the Nashville Bridge and survived. She took her
Wow.
life and didn't succeed. Um, where heart health and what had transformed with me was this world that of love that just showed up, and the sign behind me came as a gift from a friend, because if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and I'm just starting to make posts of my experience and what's going on day to day. um, Love wins. Love was the thing I believe, and the prayers and the love from the world of Murphy and beyond, that saved my life. And I have a debt to pay. I have a debt that I will never be able to repay. Ever, 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 ever. There isn't a day goes by where I don't drive into the driveway and say what this house would look like if no dad had come home for the baby.
Yeah.
Now he's 8, and I'm sorry, I'm going to kiss the shit out of you until the day I or you die,
You're
and I'm
right.
going to love
No,
you and
that's what
hug
happens
you.
when you've had loss in your life and grief. And then, you've had grief, different form than what I've experienced, but it's the same. Let's go back a bit. You were in incredible health. You're a professional athlete. How on earth did you have a heart attack? Like, did you have any idea or like
A heart
tell
attack,
me about that?
a heart attack is plumbing, cardiac arrest is electrical. And so going back to 2004, I had the flu, and that virus attacked my heart, and I had a viral cardiomyopathy.
Were you
And
aware of it at the
yeah,
time?
well, I ended up getting checked out because I had shortness of breath, all this stuff. And this virus had attacked my heart, and my heart function was way below level. And so we lost my doctors. We went fast and furious, and when you're young and in shape and doing amazing, doing good things and performing, you can't not think that your body's going to heal itself. But we ended up getting my heart function back. That turned into atrial fibrillation issues, and that's
Mhm.
electrical. And I had been cardioverted, where they shocked my heart back into rhythm 10 or 12 times, or if not 15 to 20. And
My
then
gosh.
eventually I went through 2 ablations, and my heart function was through the roof, through the roof. Like I had gone from a 3%, 3 to 8% heart function to well above 50. Like 50 is good. And was it 70% a great heart function? And my cardiologist didn't say, Murphy, how are you feeling? She said, what the F happened to you?
What the actual
Because
F happened to you?
I was not a candidate. So when you
Right.
ablate those short circuits, and I guess there are places in 2 ablations, there are areas of the heart she can't see, and she couldn't, and maybe there was just a hole in the road. But I really believe that what happened, they say everything happens for a reason. Well, sometimes they're fucked up reasons, and there's no getting around that.
Exactly.
And I didn't survive, and someone not survive, but I am still here to share my experience. When I first landed in the rooms of recovery from mental health stuff and addiction issues, I I needed help, and this place produced hope. And whether it's, your story is someone else's survival guide and their playbook. This is,
True.
you
Very
know,
true.
my story is going to be someone's survival guide. And if we're here, what do we do at the time that we're here? I really don't spend a lot of time, but I get touched on the shoulder, inspired. What's happened to me in the last few weeks is, the thing that blocks us from enjoying our life is our judgment.
Mm.
What blocks Murphy from growing is my judgment, because I'm going to tell you, no, this is how it's supposed to be. Well, until, like Mike Tyson says, you get punched in the mouth, and you drop dead on a tennis court. Uh, Everyone's got a plan until they get punched. And we've been punched, and I'm still here. But what if we could live from a point of view and a mindset where we had nothing to lose? Whoa. Playing within the parameters of, not two bananas, but hey, I was in the green room, everybody, and my friend, I was just told that I had nothing to lose. So, today's talk, There's going to be no notes. We're letting it rip, baby. Let's effing go. Because I have nothing to lose. I can say,
Yeah. What if
do.
failure wasn't an option? What would life look
Well,
like?
we're so attached to outcomes and results and outcomes and so what they say in Las Vegas is, and what the doctors have said is, I'm living on house money. And if you know what that
Interesting.
means, you've got the money, you've won at the tables, and you have a house, like, let's go. We'll see what happens. And I'm able to live now moment to moment, heartbeat to heartbeat. And I'm not attached to, I hope you like me. I hope I sound good to your audience. I hope I'm going to make decisions that are motivated by security, approval, and affection. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. I'm going to have faith and trust that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Right here, right now, living the dream with you. So
I love that. What was it like? So, after you regained consciousness, how long was the rehab and what was that experience like? How long did it take until you were out of the hospital and back home and feeling like yourself again, or you're creating your new normal? Because
it took, I would have had full vertigo. The house would spin. The
Mhm.
brain injury was still to this day. I loud, super loud noises. I lost 98% of hearing in my left ear. So
Oh, wow.
when I hear things with distorted, I might hear someone will say good morning, and I'll hear, screw you, Murphy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's weird like that. But my recovery, I whiteboarded it. I whiteboarded it. I had a lot of therapy, acupuncture, um, walks, and I've got now 4 years every single day checking boxes. I couldn't lift a water bottle, let alone bench press, but I've already lifted weights today. I'm going to go for a run when we're done here.
Mhm, mhm.
I'm going to go serve some tennis balls because it's there. You've inspired me to go jump in the ocean. It's 40 degrees, but I'm going to go in there and um,
Cold plunge.
because I can, because I
Right.
but every day I was just compounding this just a little bit, growing a little bit, growing and healing a little bit. Um, my mental health recovery has been the healing of a broken heart. And now my heart health recovery has been the healing of literally a broken heart. And I'm mindful of what I put in my mouth. I'm mindful of my thoughts. I'm mindful. So it's body, mind, and spirit at the highest order. I'm not ripping it to Burning Man and streaking naked. For those that do, awesome. But I want to be with my loved ones. I want to be with my family. I travel for work. Tennis or exercise and meditation and prayer. These are all tools and medicine for me. And it truly is. This is all medicine. The stuff that my recovery was, I would sit, we were living on Lake Washington. Now we're living on an island. We substituted fresh water for salt water. Salt water is really healing. But I
Mhm.
would sit out there on the huge, like a football field of grass, right down from our house on the Lake Washington. And that's where I came up with, and I heard a mantra: I am here, I am awake, I am enough. The biggest thing is, I'm here in my body, I am awake, I'm alive. Because I really didn't know if I was really here. I really didn't. This,
Where did you feel like you
this,
were?
I, I don't know. I lost like 60 pounds. I was
Oh,
super.
wow.
Oh, now my 8-year-old calls me buff. I've gained the weight back. I'm not overweight because I exercise so much, but I've gained all this weight back. You could see, the bones in my rib cage and stuff like that. And it was so fun. I went from an extra large to a large, and I'm this skinny mini. And, but it is to this day. We will go back to Michigan in June and July, and I ride bikes. I ride my bike. I do these mini triathlons. I swim in Lake Michigan, and I get after it. I absolutely get after it. I like eating really well. I like eating good food. I love exercise, and that helps my brain function so much. It's so important to do that stuff for me.
Incredibly, yeah.
And it's not like, oh, he's a maniac. No, it's good for my cells to breathe oxygen. My heart goes out of rhythm when I don't get enough oxygen. Like it will
Interesting.
go out of rhythm where I can't even get out of bed. To this day, last year I had got the flu and pneumonia and stuff, and my heart had gone out of rhythm 12 times. And then the rest of the year when I'm not sick, once. But if I don't get oxygen and stress really plays a big role
Oh, it's a killer.
in my heart
Yeah.
function. So, and I'm very aware, and I am of too much sugar, too many stimulants, or whatever. I just have to be too much red meat will throw my heart out of function. Yeah, so here we
How
are.
do you determine if your heart's out of function? Do you have
Well,
how do you know? Or you just feel it?
well, it's a shortness of breath for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There is, I can just feel it. I can just feel it.
You just know.
I
And
can
what do
go
you
like
do
that.
when that's happening?
Well, I say I need a nap, or
Hmm.
I need a walk. I can't really run because it's the heart skipping a beat and it's going dun, 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 dun. And
Hmm.
what I don't want is that for it to get above 200 beats per minute, because I have an implantable in my body defibrillator that will light me up and shock me back into rhythm. A couple of
Oh,
things,
wow.
because what happens is if my heart rate gets too high, the heart will shut itself down. And I think that's what happened in Colorado Springs.
Hmm.
Or, on that particular day, I they there was potentially low potassium, too much caffeine, not enough water, dehydrated, high altitude.
Right. I
So
bet
I
the altitude was a big factor.
so speaking of which causes stress on the heart function. So
Right.
I'm no cardiologist, but I have been to the Stanford Heart Institute, and they took my heart cells and genosequenced and mapped these cells. And what was really interesting is that they said that my heart cells respond to stress differently than a normal heart cell. So
Interesting.
I have heart cells that being on a tennis court and pushing myself, I just explained all these activities I participate in, but I'm mindful of the stress I put on it. I'm not there to win or lose or to be stressed. I'm there to
Right.
breathe. And so I can get my heart back into rhythm just by getting some oxygen and going for a jog or a walk. And I need that. And that includes no devices, no music. I want to listen to my heart. I want to feel the rhythm of my heart and the rhythm of my breath, and I want to listen to the birds and this thing called a forest bath, and I want to experience
Right.
the forest and get into it. And there are people that are scientific about all this stuff, like Huberman and others. I just know I feed the right wolf the right stuff. I feed the good wolf the good stuff.
Right.
And the bad wolf is, which is my thinking. I have to, I'm very aware of my thinking, and through the PTSD and the concussions and things like that, that's the thing that I have to be most, conscious of, because my brain, I had my bell rung. And I've done
Yeah.
some research with people that have had PTSD and concussions and stuff like that. And there was recovery from that, you know. Um, so here we are today.
What's one word that describes how you feel?
Grateful.
Yeah.
Just top of mind, not think. Grateful. Uh, yeah.
Where's your happy place?
My happy place. It. I love being with my family, probably more than anything. But if I were, one of the exercises I do, I put my hands on my heart, and I've been learning the skill of building a relationship with me, and I'm here in my body, like that post that inspired you. I'm here in
Yeah.
my body, and you weren't the only one. I was shocked. What I found is the best story is the truth. You know,
Always.
you're so inspiring, Murphy. It was such a motivational talk you gave. Well, that wasn't the intent. My intent was to share my experience and tell you the truth.
Well, and it's coming from a real genuine place. It's not coming from a place of anything
Over,
other than you just being an honest. But I feel like you've always been that.
I, I had people have told me like I had this thing that had this light or whatever inside me,
I agree.
and the magic is where I have found a way to get out of my way, to get out of fear's way, and live in my body. And if anything was the most important thing to me, it's my inner peace. And to be where my feet are, comfortable in my shoes. I've never been more comfortable in my shoes in my whole life.
Oh, that's a blessing right there, right? That is what do
And,
you what do you do when your day isn't flowing?
well, I have tools, which is I can reset and start over any time of the day.
Hmm.
I know I am accountable. I am responsible for what comes out of this mouth of mine. So I'm, I have never gotten in trouble for keeping my mouth shut. And how do I, on a bad day, I let someone know I'm struggling. I call somebody, I say I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I'm overwhelmed. I'm afraid. You know, um, but I'm just honest. It goes back to being honest.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I share is probably the thing that has given me this insane life is insane life, meaning that I'm able to see that tree and that bird that went from that branch to that branch, that without being some guru or a person, I'm just a normal dude, is that someone says, how do you get the trust of a business leader or a this or a that? And I'm like, because in my opinion, trust is the most, people trust me. I didn't trust me back in the day. I was really scared. And how could I? And then how do you get that trust? Well, you be honest. You got to be honest. You got to get honest. Hey, and cop to your part. Like, I'm sorry, Kate. or I'm sorry, Christina, I was wrong. And shut up.
Yeah. And it clears everything. I
My
think
part, my
when
part.
people start just saying, I'm sorry, I was totally wrong, people don't realize how easy that is, but how powerful that statement
They
is.
have to mean it,
Oh, for sure.
you
They
know.
absolutely do have to mean it.
And there's a difference in, I'm sorry, I was wrong, and they don't really mean it. The back to the truth. Tell the truth. I am sorry. I really screwed up your taxes. This were near tax season or
Yes, yeah, exactly.
yesterday,
It's on your
and
mind.
I'll fix it. You know,
What would people be surprised to know about you?
what would people that I'm shy
Hmm.
deep down? I used to be really shy, and maybe I was scared. I definitely was scared in elementary school. Uh, Maybe I give off an air of confidence, but I work on that. What would people be surprised to know about me? Hmm. That I'm deeply spiritual, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and not necessarily religious, but spiritual. In my program of recovery, we create a concept of a higher power for ourselves. I was raised Catholic. It turns out, in which is Christianity, uh, and then to find out through 23andMe that I've got 10% Ashkenazi Jewish, Eastern European Jewish,
Wow.
and uh, the difference. What I learned in recovery is that the difference between spirituality and religion is for religion generally is for people that don't want to go to hell.
Right.
Spirituality is for those people that have been to hell or been through hell in their own lives while here on earth. And my spiritual journey is like, like I said, I'll repeat it a million times. I say all day long, I'll tell you something that is a tool for me is like, I say these words all the time. God is with me. 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 If any sense of that is happening, I'm never, which helps me not ever, I'm never alone. And God is within me. And that's the deal there. That's the deal there for me.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it has to be for you or anyone else. That's the deal for me. I have uh, quiet conversations with my creator or my innermost self, and it's really important. It's really important to me that I'm not Murphy dependent. Whatever is going to happen is going to be the best thing for me.
What is something that people should stop taking for granted?
That they're going to wake up tomorrow. That their loved ones are
The
going to be
time
there at
that they
time.
think they have forever, and you don't know how long you have. Believe
Yeah,
me.
it's the illusion and the delusion is that we have some semblance of control, and
Oh, that is so true.
so I feel that everything counts.
Hmm.
I think everything counts. Um, one of the things I share with folks is, that, they want, what do you want? I think it's more important to find out what you don't want,
Oh, that's
or
good.
who you
That's
don't
a good
want
one.
is this is what I'm going to be, find my purpose and everyone says, I heard this guy say, what people say at Harvard, the speakers come in and they say, you need to find your purpose, and they, And this is after they made billions of dollars. They
Right.
go, go find your purpose. Well, I the most important relationship, I believe, that we're here on this earth to grow. Friends, friends are two or more people that have made a decision to grow amongst one another.
Hmm.
I hear it all the time. My wife's back in my life, or my spouse is back in my life. He or she's my best friend. Well, what does that look like? It's making a decision that you're going to grow together. And I'm here to grow and to serve. Serving others has been the most important principle beyond the trust thing, but service to others. How can I help? What now? To game of tennis, I would have been such a better tennis player had I had this design for living.
Hmm.
What I have found through all of the crap is a design for living, that I have a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of my spiritual program. And it's not mine. I got it from millions of others that found a design for living that allows them to walk this earth a free person from fears, doubts, and insecurities, and chasing that thing that something out here would fix in here. It
Right.
ain't there. It ain't. It's not there. It's right here, right now. Because no matter if people said, "Hey, would you buy yourself a jet?" And I said, "No, man, I don't need a jet. Um, Maybe call a friend who's got a jet and ask him for a ride or her a ride. Can I get a ride on your plane?" Yeah. Yeah, these are great questions because it forces me to look in the mirror and be honest,
Yeah.
and we'll
Mur-
see what happens.
Murphy, what have I not asked you today that you'd like to share?
Oh, geez. What have you not asked me? I don't know, Christina.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here and sharing your story and sharing that piece of Ken and your honesty and your strength and your heart.
Thank you.
What you've been through and the way you've chosen to turn it into purpose is so inspiring. And I think it's such a beautiful reminder to all of us to slow the fuck down, to take care of ourselves, and to really appreciate our health, our loved ones, and the time that we actually have. Please make sure to check out We Connect Health and the Guter Jensen Foundation and the work that Murphy is doing and how he's changing lives. And as always, no matter how busy life gets, don't forget to take a moment for yourself, to breathe, to connect, and to lead with love because it always wins.
Let's go.
I am Christina Flack, and I will see you next week. Thank you.